Have you ever walked away from an argument feeling drained, wondering why you even got involved in the first place? What if I told you that the real power lies not in fighting back, but in choosing not to react at all? How much energy have you already spent on pointless arguments? How often have you found yourself entangled in conflicts that do nothing but deplete you, leaving you tired, stressed, and frustrated? Most of us don't even realize just how much of our emotional strength is being hijacked by battles that don't matter. But there's a hidden power, a skill few people ever master, that can completely transform your life: the power of ignoring. Now, don't confuse this with apathy. Ignoring doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're wise enough to choose where your energy goes. Sometimes, the smartest thing you can do is nothing. No comeback, no defense, just peace. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that every attack must be answered. If someone insults us, we think we have to defend ourselves. If someone disagrees, we feel obligated to prove them wrong. But what if that's exactly what they want? Think about it. When someone throws a nasty comment your way, are they really trying to understand your point of view? Of course not. What they want is a reaction. They want to know they've gotten under your skin, because that gives them power. And the moment we snap back, we hand it to them. It's like trying to sail a boat across the ocean, but stopping every few minutes because someone on shore throws a rock. You drop everything, pick it up, and throw it back, over and over. Meanwhile, you're drifting off course, wasting time, losing focus. Even worse, this reaction becomes automatic. A reflex. Someone says something hurtful, and before you even realize it, you're arguing, raising your voice, defending your pride. But what are you really defending? How many arguments have ever ended with both sides hugging it out and saying, "Wow, we totally understand each other now"? Almost never. That's because most arguments aren't about clarity. They're about ego. And ego doesn't want resolution. Ego wants to win. But true strength, the kind that brings peace, doesn't come from proving you're right. It comes from not needing to. There's a powerful old Buddhist story. A man is insulted in the street. Yet instead of firing back, he simply smiles and walks away. A confused bystander asks why he didn't respond, and the man says, "If someone offers you a gift, and you refuse to accept it, who does the gift belong to?" That insult is a gift you didn't ask for, a bundle of someone else's poison, frustration, and need for control, and yet, most of us accept that gift instantly. Without question. We drink the poison, then wonder why we feel sick inside. But here's the truth. You don't have to react to everything. You don't need to engage in every battle. Not every fight is yours to fight. And when you start recognizing what deserves your response, and what simply doesn't, you reclaim the most precious thing you have, your inner peace. When you stop reacting to every provocation, something incredible happens. Your energy begins to return to you. You realize that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion deserves your attention. There's a profound strength in learning to ignore, not because you're indifferent, but because you're wise enough to understand that some things simply aren't worth your energy. Sometimes, the smartest response is no response at all. Just observe. Watch how someone attempts to pull you into chaos, craving a reaction. And instead of playing into their hands, give them nothing, just silence. That's when the real power shifts. The one who refuses to engage in drama holds the true control. But why do we argue so much? Why do we fall so easily into the trap? Imagine this. A stone drops into a pond. It ripples briefly. Then the water returns to stillness. It doesn't cling to the disturbance. It doesn't fight the ripple. It simply flows. But we humans, we hold on. We resist. Worse, we chase the stone. We've been conditioned to seek conflict. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that proving we're right means we're strong. That to remain silent is to lose. But most arguments aren't about discovering the truth at all. They're about validation. When someone contradicts us, it doesn't feel like just a different perspective, it feels personal. As if our very identity is under attack. So we react, not to understand, but to defend who we believe we are. It's as if losing an argument means losing ourselves. But take a closer look, and you'll see something revealing. Most arguments aren't rooted in curiosity. They're driven by emotion. A person who's had a rough day is more likely to lash out. Someone feeling small may try to bring others down. Often, the fight isn't about the topic. It's about the internal baggage people carry. Anger, fear, frustration, and when you step into their emotional arena, you absorb that energy. What begins as a disagreement quickly transforms into an emotional battlefield. The actual subject fades into the background. It's no longer about being right, it's about winning. But what exactly do we win? Think about it. What do you gain when the other person wasn't truly listening in the first place? Nothing but stress, tension, disconnection. We get stuck in endless debates with friends, partners, even strangers online, and walk away drained. And for what? Nothing really changes. Buddhism teaches that suffering stems from attachment. And often, we're too attached to our opinions, to being understood, to the belief that disagreement means failure. But what if we let go of that attachment? What if we stopped interpreting disagreement as a personal threat? The truth is, your truth remains valid even if no one agrees. You don't need universal approval to stand strong in what you believe. And there's something incredibly freeing in that realization. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean giving up. It means setting yourself free. Once you stop taking every disagreement personally, you begin to see things more clearly. You realize something powerful. You don't need universal approval for your truth to matter. There's an incredible liberation in understanding that your self-worth isn't tied to someone else's agreement. And from that realization emerges one of the greatest inner strengths we can cultivate, the power of non-reaction. This isn't about silencing your voice or avoiding important conversations. It's about developing the wisdom to know which dialogues will help you grow and which ones will only drain your energy. It's the art of discernment, the ability to recognize when to speak and when to walk away. Because sometimes, ignoring something doesn't come from apathy, it comes from clarity. And the more you practice this awareness, the more you unlock something deeper, the art of the non-response. Yes, the art of the non-response. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, there's something revolutionary about staying silent. Most people don't understand the power behind not reacting, but those who do, they hold an inner mastery that few ever attain. Choosing not to respond is not surrender. It's self-control. It's refusing to step into a game where there are no real winners. Picture this. Someone is yelling at you, trying to provoke you. They're waiting for your reaction, hoping you'll snap, but instead, you remain still. You don't flinch. You don't shift your tone. You don't even blink. The more they try, the more their energy drains, until their anger fades into silence. That is the art of the non-response in action. Because the truth is, most people aren't looking for meaningful conversations, they're looking for reactions. They want to see you lose control, raise your voice, stumble to defend yourself. It's like casting a line with bait, hoping you'll bite. But the most effective way to win that game? Don't play it. This isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending nothing affects you. It's about taking a moment before you react. It's about asking yourself, does this truly deserve my energy? Will this lead to understanding, or just pull me into another emotional tug of war? Every time you choose to respond, you're giving away your most precious resource, your attention. And attention is powerful. It shapes your focus, your emotions, your peace. The ego will whisper, if you don't defend yourself, you've lost. But that's a lie. The truth? There's nothing stronger than remaining unshaken. Calmness disarms. It confuses. It empowers. As the old Buddhist saying goes, the wind can stir the dust, but it cannot move the mountain. When you master the art of the non-response, you become that mountain, anchored, steady, immovable. And no, this doesn't mean you've become numb or indifferent. It means you've grown wise enough to know which battles are worth fighting, and which aren't even worth noticing. And once you become that calm mountain, something profound begins to shift. It's no longer just about avoiding unnecessary battles, it becomes a way of life. You begin to choose your peace over your pride. You realize that not every fight is worth your time. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is simply walk away. Not because you're weak, but because your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. When someone tries to provoke you and gets no reaction, it creates a pause. They suddenly see that their words hold no power over you. And in that pause, something shifts. Manipulation fades. The game ends. Why? Because they realize they can't control you anymore. That realization alone can stop more arguments than 1,000 clever comebacks ever could. But this practice goes beyond just avoiding conflict. It shapes your mind. When you learn to observe rather than react, you begin to see how most emotions, anger, irritation, the urge to defend yourself, are like passing clouds. They come, they go, and if you don't grab onto them, they simply vanish. That's the art of the non-response. It's not a tactic to suppress your voice. It's a discipline that builds inner freedom. A path toward peace that can't be shaken by outside opinions. Because the moment you stop needing validation, when you stop measuring your worth by how others respond to you, that's when real peace begins to bloom. And from that peace, clarity is born. Without the noise of pointless arguments clouding your mind, you gain time to reflect, to create, to focus on what really matters. You begin to see clearly which voices deserve your attention and which ones don't. You learn when to speak and when to be still. That's not passivity. That's wisdom. Ignoring for the sake of ignoring means nothing. But choosing silence with intention? That's power. Not everything demands a response. And not every situation requires your voice. Sometimes silence brings serenity. Other times, the right words at the right moment can shift everything. The real challenge? Finding that balance. Too often, we speak when we shouldn't and stay quiet when we should speak up. Emotions take over. We react impulsively to insults, yet hesitate when truth needs defending. That internal contradiction creates unrest. Buddhism reminds us, before we speak, we should ask 3 simple questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If any answer is no, silence might be the better path. But if all 3 are yes, then your words become a gift, a powerful force for change. Because sometimes, saying nothing is strength, but other times, saying something can be a lifeline. Building on that wisdom, it's clear that knowing when to speak and when to stay silent isn't just a skill. It's a form of strategy. You don't stay silent because you're out of arguments, but because you understand that some discussions are simply dead ends. Yet, when someone genuinely seeks understanding, when there's a true chance for meaningful dialogue, then your voice matters. In that case, silence becomes avoidance, not wisdom. Think about how often you've tried to explain your thoughts to someone who's already made up their mind. No matter how clearly you speak, they're not listening, they're waiting to respond. Why waste energy trying to convince someone who doesn't want to be convinced? You don't have to win every conversation. Not every battle is worth the effort. And even when you win, some victories leave you emptier than before. But there are times when silence is no longer the answer, when someone crosses a line, when speaking up could prevent harm, or when your words could support someone else. In these moments, holding back isn't strength, it's silence misplaced. The challenge is that we often mistake ego for truth. We speak because we feel attacked, not because we have something meaningful to say. But ego doesn't want truth, it wants to control. When you begin to see this clearly, you'll feel less pressure to respond to every situation. Not everything deserves your voice, but some things absolutely do. And learning the difference is what separates impulsive reaction from intentional response. When you master this balance, your world begins to shift. You stop spending your energy on empty conflicts and start investing your words where they carry weight. This is the beginning of something deeper, understanding how to diffuse conflict before it even starts. It's not about retreating or pretending things don't matter, it's about strategy. About moving smarter. Many people think that walking away from an argument is surrender. But the truth is, most arguments aren't sparked by logic, they're fueled by emotion. When someone lashes out, it often comes from their frustration, anger, or insecurity, not from rational thought. And if you meet that energy with the same intensity, the result is inevitable, a clash. But if you pause, if you step outside the cycle, the conflict loses its fire. One powerful method is to use responses that don't escalate the situation. Instead of getting defensive, try something like, "I see your point," or "Let's continue this when we're both calm." These statements don't mean you're conceding. They simply prevent the other person from pushing you further into a reactive trap. Another vital approach is learning not to take things personally. Often, arguments stem from emotions that have nothing to do with you. People just need a place to unload their stress. If you choose not to take the bait, the fight often dissolves on its own. And remember, humor, when used wisely, can be a shield. If someone is trying to provoke you and you respond with calm wit or lightness, you disarm them without aggression. You're not mocking the situation. You're simply showing that their negativity holds no power over you. Ultimately, you are never obligated to engage in every conflict. You don't need to prove your point to everyone. You don't need to fix every misunderstanding. Walking away without a word isn't defeat, it's peace preserved. And when you reach that place, you discover something rare and valuable, true freedom. But mastering that balance between when to speak and when to stay silent is just the beginning. Because next comes knowing how not to get hooked at all. A lot of people argue over things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. They're just looking for a target, a place to unload their built-up frustrations. If you don't engage, they quickly run out of steam. A simple, neutral response like, "I'm not going to argue about this right now," or even complete silence can be incredibly powerful. It sends a message. Their attempt to stir up conflict has no effect on you. Humor can also be a surprisingly effective tool. Imagine someone trying to provoke you, expecting you to explode, only for you to respond with a calm smile or a light-hearted remark. That reaction disarms them, not because you're trivializing the situation, but because you're refusing to give them control over your emotional state. The truth is, you're never obligated to participate in every conflict someone tries to ignite. You don't have to prove anything. You don't need to convince anyone. You can simply walk away from an argument without saying a single word, and that doesn't make you weak. In fact, it shows immense inner strength. You've preserved something more precious than any temporary victory, your peace. Once you begin applying these strategies, you come to a powerful realization. Real strength isn't found in winning arguments. It's found in not needing to win them. And when you reach that level of detachment, something profound begins to shift. You gain the freedom to disconnect from anything that drains your spirit, anything that adds no true value to your life. That's when real tranquility begins. Picture waking up one morning and feeling untouchable, not because you're hiding from life, but because you've cultivated a mindset that nothing external can shake. No opinion, no insult, no attempt to provoke you can break your calm. It's not indifference, it's mastery. This is the essence of not getting hooked. It's not about shutting out the world or pretending you're unaffected. It's about realizing, with absolute clarity, that most provocations aren't worth your energy. Most conflicts are just noise. And once you stop feeding that noise with your reactions, you become free, freer than most people ever imagine. Because here's the reality. Most people live at the mercy of what happens around them. If someone insults them, their mood crashes. If someone disagrees, they take it personally. If someone criticizes them, they scramble to respond. Their inner peace? Entirely dependent on the world around them. But you, when you stop reacting, when you no longer let the outside world dictate your inner state, you reclaim something powerful. You take back control. And think about it, How many of your worst days were truly bad because of what happened, and how many were bad because of how you responded? And that's the point, so often. It's not what happened that ruins our day, but how we reacted to it. Think about it. How many times have you created unnecessary stress by getting involved in situations you could have simply ignored? How much precious energy have you spent fighting battles that were never yours to begin with, battles that, in hindsight, were never even worth the fight? Once you learn to let go, to mentally and emotionally detach from conflicts that serve no purpose, your whole perspective begins to shift. You begin to see life with a clearer lens. You realize that many of the things that once triggered you, frustrated you, consumed your thoughts, they never really mattered in the first place. You stop handing your power over to every little irritation. You stop feeling like you have to prove something in every interaction. You stop carrying emotional weights that were never meant for you. This doesn't mean shutting off your feelings, it means becoming intentional. Intentional with your energy, intentional with your attention, intentional with your response, because most of the time, the wisest response is no response at all. Buddhism teaches that suffering stems from attachment, and one of the strongest, most ego-driven attachments people carry is the need to be right, the need to be heard, to be understood, to defend every opinion like it's a part of their soul. But once you begin to let go of that attachment, once you recognize that your peace is more precious than any victory in an argument, something powerful happens. You gain something far greater than the satisfaction of being right. You gain true freedom. And that's when your life truly starts to transform. You're no longer a puppet to your impulses. You stop getting pulled into other people's storms. You no longer waste your breath trying to explain yourself to those who were never listening in the first place. You stop giving meaning to things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't deserve your attention. Of course, this doesn't mean you let others walk over you. This isn't about tolerating disrespect. It's about making a conscious choice to respond in a way that aligns with your inner peace. You protect your boundaries not with raised voices, but with unshakable calm. And let's be honest, nothing confuses or disarms a provocateur more than someone who simply refuses to play their game. And here's the beautiful ripple effect. When you master this energy, people around you notice. The ones who used to push your buttons stop trying, because you're no longer reacting. The ones who thrived on arguing with you lose interest, because you no longer give them your emotional energy. Gradually, your environment shifts. You start attracting peace because you are peace. You draw in the kind of energy that matches the tranquility you've built within yourself. This kind of peace can't be faked. It doesn't come from pretending. It comes from knowing, deep in your core, that nothing external can disturb the stillness you've cultivated inside. You no longer chase approval, validation, or the last word, and once you taste that level of freedom, you'll never want to go back. Because the ultimate freedom isn't being able to do whatever you want. It's not needing anything from anyone to feel complete. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, you remain unshaken. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their chaos, pause and remember who you've become. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember, you don't have to enter it. Just smile, stay still, let their chaos burn itself out, like wind rustling through trees. Let the noise pass right through you. Because when you stop giving your attention to what doesn't deserve it, you start gaining something far more valuable, your inner peace. But how do you protect that peace? How do you cultivate a mind that cannot be shaken? Ignoring distractions is only the beginning. The real transformation begins when your mind becomes so steady, so rooted, that you no longer even notice the things that used to provoke you. You don't just resist reacting, you stop seeing certain provocations as meaningful altogether. What once felt like thunder now feels like a distant whisper. But achieving that state takes more than understanding. It requires daily training, just like building physical strength. Emotional resilience isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill, one that needs conscious practice and commitment. And the first step? Observation. Watch your thoughts like clouds in the sky, passing. Temporary. When you feel the sudden urge to argue, defend yourself, or react emotionally, pause. Don't immediately focus on what's happening outside. Shift inward. What emotion is bubbling up? Is it pride? Insecurity? Fear of seeming weak or being misunderstood? Identifying the root of your reaction is far more powerful than trying to force yourself into silence. Because once you know why it affects you, the grip it has on you begins to loosen. Another essential tool is detachment. Buddhism reminds us that everything is impermanent: conflict, criticism, even your current sense of self. What seems urgent today might feel irrelevant in a week, a month, a year. So when something upsets you, ask yourself, will this still matter 1 year from now? If the honest answer is no, then why let it steal your peace today? Then there's meditation, not hours of stillness, but just a few moments of mindful breathing, of grounding yourself in the now. This simple daily act helps you develop control over your inner world. And when you learn to calm the thoughts within, no noise outside can truly disturb you. Also, consider your environment. You may not control every circumstance, but you can absolutely control what you consume. Who do you spend time with? What kind of energy surrounds your day? What content fills your mind? If you're constantly absorbing arguments, drama, or negativity, your mind will reflect that same energy. But if you start choosing peace through your relationships, your media, your thoughts, you begin to build a life that naturally supports your stillness. When you begin to fill your life with calmness, moments of meaningful silence, and thoughtful conversations, something remarkable happens. Peace becomes your natural state of being. But there's more to this transformation. One of the most underrated shifts is learning to view life with a sense of humor. Not everything has to be so serious. Think about it. How many things that once upset you only had power because you gave them so much importance? Sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is simply smile at the absurdity of it all. Like watching a dramatic play unfold without buying a ticket. When you learn to laugh at petty conflicts, to see them as passing performances rather than battles worth fighting, life becomes lighter. You breathe easier. The weight lifts. And let's be clear, this isn't about avoiding reality. It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing which burdens were never truly yours to carry in the first place. The more you understand this, the less you feel the urge to engage. Over time, external provocations no longer land because there's nothing inside you left to respond to them. It's like a radio signal trying to connect with a receiver that's been switched off. That is when you touch the edge of something rare, an unshakable mind. Because at the deepest level, this journey isn't just about avoiding arguments or brushing off criticism. It's about creating a peace so profound that nothing outside of you can touch it. Imagine waking up each day with a quiet confidence, knowing that no opinion, no insult, no attempt to provoke can disturb your inner stillness. You walk through the world unafraid of judgment. You stop fearing what others might think or say. And in that space, you discover a deeper truth. Freedom doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering your inner world. And really, can you imagine how different your life would feel if you didn't have to respond to every criticism, every opinion, every emotional jab? Not because you're avoiding life, but because you've built something far stronger within, a calm, clear mind that chooses where to place its energy. Most people spend their days in a constant state of reaction, arguing over trivial things, defending themselves from comments that don't matter, draining their energy just to prove a point that no one will remember tomorrow. But when you finally break free from that exhausting loop, when you stop handing out pieces of yourself to everyone who demands your attention, you unlock a serenity that very few people ever experience. And once you find that peace, you'll realize you were never missing it. It was within you all along. So once you've discovered that deep inner calm, the kind no one can take from you, the real challenge begins: protecting it. This doesn't mean you let others trample over your boundaries. It doesn't mean you stay silent when your voice truly matters. What it does mean is that you learn to tell the difference between what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You begin to realize that not every battle is worth stepping into, and not every opinion thrown at you is worth addressing. As Buddhist wisdom teaches, suffering doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from how we respond. That's where your true power lives. When you stop reacting to every little provocation, when you stop allowing others to control your emotional state, when you finally accept that your peace doesn't need anyone else's approval to be valid, that's when you become truly free. And that freedom? It's life-changing. So here's the invitation. Take this practice with you into your daily life. The next time someone tries to bait you into a useless argument, pause. Just pause. The next time you feel your blood boil, your voice rising, your mind ready to snap back, ask yourself this: is this really worth my peace? If the answer is no, then you know what to do. Walk away, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Choose your well-being over the fleeting satisfaction of being right. Choose inner stillness over outer chaos. Choose yourself. And if you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a phrase in the comments, just one sentence, that captures what you're taking away from this video. It could be something we talked about today. Or maybe it's your own realization. What is one reminder you can carry with you to stay grounded? To remain centered? To protect your peace when the world tries to steal it? And if this message spoke to you, if it echoed something inside you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Every week, we dive into powerful ideas and timeless wisdom that help us build a life rooted in peace, presence, and real inner strength. And if you know someone who struggles with constant conflict, who reacts without thinking, Who's always being pulled into the drama? Share this with them. Sometimes, one new perspective is all it takes to transform someone's life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up, for listening, and most of all, for being willing to grow. Until next time, stay grounded, protect your peace, because at the end of the day, there is nothing more valuable than that.